So this is a tutorial for beginners in Java, and this tutorial is aimed for beginners which are trying to get started with Java. And basically I'm going to be walking you guys through the thought process behind solving simple Java exercises. We're going to be looking at two exercises. These are the two exercises. These exercises are exercises of first year of college, so that's the level of difficulty. First week of college. This is very basic, but I'm not going to be explaining anything in detail. I'm just going to be walking you guys through the thought process behind solving the exercises. Because when I was starting out, these were the kind of videos that I wanted to find and I couldn't find it. So without any further ado, let's get started. So first of all, I expect you to be familiar with this at least, and this is it's the workspace for Java, and every Java program code needs at least a class and the main method. If you are not familiar with those terms, you can look them up, and because I'll be just explaining them, not too much detail. So yeah, let's get started. We have a public class main. This is in my software is just running an error every now and then, but never mind. So we have the public class called main, and we have the main method. So we don't have to worry about those things now. All the code is going to go inside the main method, and as we move along you'll get familiar with those things. So first of all, we have to look at what we have to do. So these are the two exercises, these exercises here. So exercise number 1, what we have to do, we have to write a program that will ask the user to enter a number and then will output too big if the number is greater than 100, and output perfect otherwise. So programming is all about problem solving, so we have two things to do. This is how you do comments in Java, and so first thing we have to do is output the message too big if the number entered is greater than 100. And the other thing we have to do is output perfect in any other case. So that's all that the exercise is asking us to do. So let's get started. First thing, we're going to be needing the user input. So how do we get user input? There's a few ways you can do it, but the easiest way in Java is by using the scanner class. Scanner is a built-in class in Java. It's a because look, this is the main. This is is a class called main, and we can create objects inside a class. You'll be familiar with that later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a class, a pre-written class, and it's called scanner. So to do that, we just type scanner, and now we're going to create an object for the class scanner, and we're going to call it input. By the way, you can call it anything you want. I'm calling it input, and we're going to declare it as a new object of the class scanner. And now as parameters, usually inside the the brackets, the parentheses, you have the parameter. So parameter for this is system.in. So what we did is we created an object called input of the class scanner, and let's move ahead. So next thing we have to do now is to output something to the user, to ask them to input a number, to enter a number, I mean. So we're going to do that by using the system.out.println command. This command prints something to the user. So in our case, we want to print enter a number. So this is the message we want to print to the user. So yeah, once if this code gets run, see, it's a good practice in programming to always check your code. So we're going to run this, okay, and see, it just asks us for a number, and we can type a number. I mean, actually we can't type a number because we aren't doing anything with the number. So the program, it's finished there. So yeah, let's keep writing, then you will see what happens. So because what we have to do is we have to store the number typed. Never mind that. We have to store the number typed into a variable, and we didn't do that, so that's why we couldn't type any number. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. Since we are asking for a number, we're creating a variable called int. So int, because it takes an integer as a value, as the value. So we're going to call it user number. You can call it anything you want. I'm just calling it user number, and it's going to be equal to input dot next int. And so what this line of code does is it takes whatever number was typed by the user and it stores it into a variable called user number, and it does that because of this command input dot next int. So next int, next int, so sorry, I lost my thought process, so let's start again. So this is a variable called user number, and it's getting the value that the user is typing, and it's storing it into this variable called user number. And this is called input because my object is called input. This is something that I was confused for a while, and see, I told you guys that you can call this anything you want. So see, they are linked. If you put the mouse in here, this lights up and this also lights up. If I change the name in here, let's say, some people like to call this SC, so what you have to do is you have to call this SC as well. So now, see, now it works again. So this is the object of the class scanner. So now we have an object, and we have a number, and we stored it into the variable called user number. So if we run the code, now we should be allowed to type a number, and the number is 34 or whatever number you want, and you press enter, and nothing happens because we haven't written any other code. So yeah, that's our code so far, and it works. So let's move on. Next part is, now we have to start doing some logic. So what's the first thing we have to do? Because now we got the number from the user. Now we have to do something with it. So what we were asked to do is we were asked to output too big if the number entered is greater than 100. Okay, so we can do that using a simple if statement. So we type if, and we type user number, which is the name of our variable. So it's very pretty much as you read it, it's the way it is. So if user number is greater than 100, I want to execute a piece of code, and you just open curly brackets, and now we're going to write something inside this if statement. So what this is this is an if statement. You're just telling the computer, if this piece of code is true, run whatever is inside the curly brackets. So if the number type is greater than 100, what's inside the curly brackets will happen. So we're going to print something to the user, system.out.println, and we're going to print what we were told to print, too big. And semicolon. So here we go. So let's check our code. Okay, enter a number. So if you enter a number greater than 100 and press enter, we get a message too big. So let's try it again. If we enter a number smaller than 100, nothing happens because you haven't told the computer what to do. So never mind that. That's what we're going to do now. Next. So this is the only condition we told the computer. So let's tell him what to do if something else happens. So we're going to do that by using an else statement. So this is an else statement, and what it does is if this condition is met, this piece of code will get run. Else, this piece of code will get run. So it's pretty much, as you read it, it's how it happens. So if the number is not greater than 100, I want to print this to the user. You can open curly brackets, or you can just write, because if it's not more than one line, you don't need the curly brackets. So system.out.println, and we print what we're asked to print, which is perfect. So let's check our code now. We enter. So enter a number, 230. Too big. Okay, that works. So let's check the other conditions. Enter a number. Let's try 90. Perfect. See, this condition was not met, so this code got run. So that's how it works. And there we have it. So this is the first thing we had to do. We had to output too big if the number entered is greater than 100, and that's done by this if statement. And any other case, we have to print perfect. So this is what we print, else perfect. So I hope this is helpful, guys, and I see you again